Alright, welcome back to another episode of Stitch Method. I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible because there's so much to talk about when we want to try and solo like Ed King in Sweet Home Alabama. Now, as you all probably know, Ed King passed away several weeks ago, and I had actually wanted to make this video for a while, so it just seems like it's the right time to do it. When you listen to his soloing on Sweet Home Alabama, if you really analyze it, it's nothing short of spectacular. I compare it to, I know it's going to sound stupid, but I feel like Ed King and Slash from Guns N' Roses had a very similar approach when they were soloing, which is a lot of it, you can just tell it came from their mind, their heart. They figured it out, and then they hummed it, and it was organic, and then they executed on guitar and refined it until it was perfect. And that solo, when you look at it, has so much content in terms of what's happening. So I want to go over very quickly all these different things that are happening so you can kind of steal his secret sauce and keep his sound alive if you're playing this with a band or by yourself. So we have to go over some things that you might know already, which are very common discussions when we're talking about Sweet Home Alabama. So first, the key of the song. It is not D. Even though the chord progression is D, C, and G, the key is not D. The key is G. This is a 5-4-1 in the key of G, which D is the 5, C is the 4, and that C chord is very, very special, and the 1 is G. And if you look at it, you can put it together like G, C, D. You'll have it down here, which is the first chord, the fourth chord, and the fifth chord in the key of G, and all we're doing is starting it on the D. And we can say, well, this is a D mixolydian progression, which means we're starting on D, which is the 5, mixolydian. Stick with me, I promise it'll get better. So we have a D, C, G. And with that being said, we have a 5-4-1 progression, and now it's like, well, how do you solo over 5-4-1s? There are so many options. If you've seen my Wind Cries Mary video, which I'll link it below, that's a progression that starts on a 5, and there's so many ways to start soloing on a 5. Some of the most common ways are the minor pentatonic of the 5 chord, like a D minor pentatonic. Now that would give you a pure rock sound, but it's not the sound that Ed King gets. I'll give you the example. Here's the loop. I'm gonna turn my distortion. Here's the loop of Sweet Home Alabama. Here's the D minor. It's just not going to sound like Ed King's performance, right? If you listen. Now, sounds good. Sounds really good, but it's not what Ed King does. Okay, so what does he do? And you really have to follow me here, and I'm so sorry because it's long-winded, but you'll follow me. If we have this G, C, and D, where do we see G, C, and D a lot? Well, you see G, C, and D in songs that are in the key of G, but also in a G blues, right? You'd have a G7 chord, or G, boom, bop, boom, 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 bop, right? Da, do, da, da, do, da, da, and then a C, boom, bop, da, da. Bear with me, just gonna bop along, bop, 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 then back to the G, boom, bop, dee, da. And you guys probably know this and feel this, and you're rolling your eyes, I'm sorry. Then the D, bop, boom, 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 bop, C, bop, boom, 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 bop, and then the G, bop, boom, 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 bop, D. All right, so let's take a look at that, because Ed King and Lynyrd Skynyrd were definitely influenced by the blues. You can really hear it. They're very strong pentatonic riff players. They have the blues influence. So we got to understand that concept first. So what would we use to solo if we were just playing the G blues, right? And Sweet Home Alabama is kind of that thing we play backwards, but what would we use? Well, we'd use a G minor pentatonic. Now, is that what Ed King uses? No. But yes, and we'll talk about that in a second, okay? But if I played straight up G minor pentatonic, I'm just going, this whole video is like, again, it's guitar detective with Ed King. We're discovering like where his mindset was. So now if we attempt a G minor pentatonic, which would be on the 15th fret up here, you know, we have that'd be a G minor if you started on the 3rd fret. I'll start on the 15th fret up here, and let me just load it up and see what kind of sound we get. I mean, again, sounds good, right? Sounds good, but it's not the secret sauce of Ed King just yet. So what the heck does he do? Okay, so now we had that discussion. And we're going to come back to that G blues idea in a second. Let's just start off. There's several things that he does. And I'm going to tell you this, which is, it is 100% obvious that he heard this in his head. Like the final solo on the album, he like hummed it, played it, and kind of figured it out, and was probably really impressed with what he heard naturally, and then played it on guitar. And when you see Ed King's version live on video, he sticks to kind of the same feel. And so I'm just letting you know, he probably didn't use all of this theory, but we have to decode what happened, and so here it is. Okay, so the solo starts off right away, and if you're playing this, with a band, you gotta know all this stuff. Starts off with an F and a C, and that's how the solo comes in. And really quickly, he comes in with the this line, and we have to look at that really quickly before we keep going. So it hits an F chord. So what does he do? He takes this G note here, bends it up to an A. Now why does he bend it up to an A? Well, right about here somewhere, because when you're playing an F chord, that's an F, A, and C note. And he hears it. He hears like, man, wah! He bends up to that major third of the F. Then he comes back down to the G. Why the G? Well, they're playing a C chord, and what's inside of a C chord? A C, E, and G, and there it is. So the first two hits of the solo, he's playing chord tone, and then he comes in with this. Now, just to let you know, if you look at Ed King's version, if you listen to the album cut, it is most definitely this. But in the later years, with other guitar players that replaced him, they adapted it to this. And the reason I want to show that is because that is a D chord, and the first chord of this progression is a D, and he comes in strong on the chord tone, but what he does is ba bop bum, little stutter. And now the fun begins. We're getting right now to the very special moment, that C chord. So if you listen carefully, ba 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 dum bum 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 ba. That's C chord, if I can play it on camera, right? Ba dum ba dum ba bum ba da 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 da. And the line he comes up with, now I'm not going to play it 100%, because I forgot it, not really, but we get this. We get this. And it's like, what is that? What is that? And it's in the solo, clear as day. And so this isn't about playing the solo note for note. It's about capturing his feel so you can do it. So when you look at this thing, when I look at this thing, and I'm like, okay, what just happened? Ba-ba-bum, and we have 10th fret, B, 8th fret, E, 11th fret, B, 10, 8, and then down to the 9 on the G. And you're like, what is that? Now, if you're a Stitch Method fan, and you've watched my stuff before, you probably get how much I talk and all my allusions to other videos. And if you're new, I apologize, but you made it this far, which is, this is a BB box. This is a BB box right here. Now, I'm going to link my BB box video below. If you have no clue what I'm talking about, watch it. It will blow your mind, I promise. But there's no doubt that this right here is a BB box. It's the shape of it. It's the feel of it. This is what it feels like. And so when I analyzed that, I said, what is this thing doing here? What's happening? And then it hit me, oh man, it's based off of G blues. And if you have the 1, 4, 5 in G and you're playing a G minor pentatonic, in my BB box video, I discuss how you play the G minor pentatonic, but when the 4 chord comes, which in this case is the C, and also in Sweet Home Alabama, it is the C. You can play the BB box off of this Form 3 pentatonic. Because if you look here, that's a piece of the C chord. That little nugget right here where we hold the BB box. And this is what makes the solo kick. It's right here on top of the C chord. He throws in the BB box, or he also throws in a piece of just the G minor pentatonic, and it's only on that C. So listen to this very carefully. I'm going to play like pretty much a piece of the solo, but I'm going to try not to play the standard. I'll try and come up with something else in that BB box so you can hear the flair. Let's see. Okay, so I did a little like D. Let's see. D, C. And there it is. Okay, so now I'm going to stop talking. it's on that C chord that he pops in this G minor pentatonic and G minor BB box. It's an incredible move. It is taken right from the inspiration of the blues, and it fits perfectly. Now, I'm going to tell you this again. I do not suspect that he sat with a piece of paper and wrote this out. Ed King was a brilliant musician. He had a lot of heart, and whatever percent the 1%, the 2% that made him him, really probably heard these things in his head, and he figured it out, and he probably chuckled and went, oh yeah, a BB box on the 4. That makes sense. And so you want to sit with that moment, and it goes by quickly. The D is quick, the C is quick, and then when we get to the G, he just stays in the G major pentatonic. This is brilliant stuff, and right here, the way you can find a G major pentatonic is you can find the G chord, and this G chord here is a C-shaped G chord, and I'm throwing a lot of videos of mine at you, but I have a cage chord system video, which I'll link below. That is the G chord, 7th fret bar, C shape. And the pentatonic that always goes with this, in this shape, is going to be 7-10, 7-10, 7-9, 7-9, 8-10, 7-10. And what does he do? He just rips with this until the D comes back. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and play, the D, a little piece of the D, the little kind of BB box action on the C, and then G major pentatonic stuff. And then I'm going to play it 1 or 2 times around, and we'll talk about how to keep on going with this and get a little bit further down the neck. All right, here we go. Man, it's a little complicated, isn't it? Let's see. Ba-ba. So you're probably like, hey, Ian, you just played a lot more than you said was going on. And I did, and I'll explain everything, but there's so much to explain. And if this guitar solo was simple, it'd be a simple video. But it's a complex solo that's so well thought out, and you want to be able to do this live. So if we're around the 7th fret, and I'm going to show this to you in the 7th fret area and then the 12th fret area, because that's what you can do if you want to try and solo and have a lot of fun with this, which is you come in, bam, bum, and of course you got to nail that, bam, bum, bum, you have to. But then, again, he goes right to the C, G minor BB box, and then to the G major pentatonic. But then when it comes back to the D, if you look here, you have a D chord. I'll make a chart for this. I just realized I was like, I'm not going to make a chart, but I'll make a chart for sale if you want to see these things visually lined up. It might not appear right away with the video's launch, but it'll appear. And you have a D chord here, G-shaped D chord. Right, there it is. And the pentatonic that goes with this, right here, is going to be the form 1. 7-10, 7-9, 7-9, 7-9, 7-10, 7-10. And when the D comes around, you can kind of hit a little bit of the standard pentatonic, just kind of standard stuff, before the C comes in really quickly to that BB box, and then back into that G major pentatonic. And so when you hear this stuff, I mean, it's incredible how well Ed King's notes go together, but how there are these 3 things kind of happening, which is just crazy. You got the D chord tones or D pentatonic into a BB box into a G major pentatonic. And it sounds flawless. And so to practice this stuff is hard, so you want to slow it down, but let's see if you can go like, let's see. I'm going to start up here, do this thing, get down, and then when it comes back around, kind of stay around here and see how well it goes. Let's see. What did I just do? Well, I just turned off my looper. What I just do, I took it up to here. But before I take it up to here, and I'll show you how to do this, this will be on the chart. I hope you're understanding this. Oh my gosh. This here is an incredible place to play it. You can really, the frets are far apart, and you can kind of like really get a lot of technique down. I just want to go over it one more time. The D comes in, and you can solo in some D chord tones or D major pentatonic, and then the C comes in and switches over to a C. Really, it's a G minor BB box, but it forms out that C, and I hope I did my job explaining that Again, the BB Box video will be linked below. And then to a G major pentatonic. It's incredible stuff. And then if you want to do it up here, you can do the same stuff up here, and I'll put in the chart, but really quickly. The D major pentatonic up here doesn't really feel that well. It's a D-shaped chord, which is here. It looks like this. And again, you can watch my cage chord videos. All right? And we have this, I'll start on the 12th fret, the root. You have the 12, 14, 11, 14, 12, 15, 12, 14. And you can see that. Really, and it goes by so fast, you can think of the pentatonic or you can think of the chord tones, whatever works for you. But this will help. It's the form 3 pentatonic in D major is what we're looking for, or the D major chord tone, anything. And then what you want to do is you want to find that BB box. Now the BB box up here, it's hard to find, but I'm going to map it out for you. It's if you put your first finger on the C, okay, you have C and D. Okay, this is a little piece of it, 13, 15. And then on the G string you have 15, 14, 12. And then leave your first finger there, I'll show the whole thing. So you have, and then you can go to the E here. Now this is a shape that I do not expect you to understand or see because the BB box itself is kind of an isolated shape. But when Ed King plays it up here, and he does, and you can see it in his live performances, he keeps up in the 12th fret, he knows how to play these notes over here. So starting from thick to thin, it'd be 12 on the D, 14 on the D, 12 on the G, 14 on the G, 15 on the G, 13 on the B, and 15. And then the G major pentatonic, you guessed it, form 1 right here. Here's my G chord, very, very simple. It's the E minor pentatonic as well. And so you have all the stuff. Now, you probably want to end on a G, which is here for your solo, but Ed King is probably going to end here for the final solo, which if you're playing the elongated second solo is what I'm talking about, really. And so let's see if we can do this. I'm going to start off with the standard. Then think of a D major chord or D major pentatonic. Oh, sorry. That's the standard move. And then to the BB box, into the G major pentatonic. There's still more to do. Well, let's frame that out. Let's see how we do here. The distortion on. All right. Thinking of, again, there's so much to go into this, but I hope that you're enjoying it. Again, I'll have charts below. I'll have the charts, because not that you need them, but it's good to see the visuals on this. And so now, when you're playing live, there's a lot of stuff that happens, and you can hear him do this in the solo. And what I'm about to say is because it's so complex in approach, it seems to me it has to be 100% organic thought. I'm not saying he wrote it like right as he intended to play it. He probably sat with the chords and kind of hummed these solos, and every time he hummed it, it was like a new approach, and there's a very distinct sound. So one thing you can do now is if you're having a hard time getting those D chord tones in and finding the D major pentatonic because it's just 2 beats on that D, again, the overall scale that's going to encompass this would be the G major pentatonic. But what you can do is you can put in the G major blues scale, which looks like this. It's really the E minor blues scale, but it looks like this. It's 12, 15, 12, 14, 15. You're just putting the B flats in. 12, 14, 12, 14, 15, 12, 15, 12, 15. And you can use these notes. You can do these chromatic runs from 12 to 14 on both these strings and get this good vibe playing. So you can use a G major pentatonic, a G major blues scale. You can use chromatics in this thing. And so I'm going to kind of back up for a second. The G major pentatonic with the B flat in it, like that note right there is part of that BB box. And it's like, well, you kind of want to only hit that thing when that C is on there, because the C and the BB box go together. But the chromatic runs, like, you can put in any time. And so another way to solo on top of this, because Ed King does this whole thing, in all these different ways, is stick with the G major pentatonic and the G major blues scale, and hit that BB box on the C, and then continue on the G major blues box. Let's see if that makes sense. We're wrapping up, I promise. Oh my god, it's like a 20-minute video. It's supposed to be quick. We'll stop there. Go have fun with all this, okay? So here are the steps, and I'll wrap up, and it'll come to a close. All right. Soloing option number 1 is you play those D major chord tones or D major pentatonic really quick. Hit that BB box on the C, G major pentatonic soloing. And you can do it here, and I'll map it out on the chart as to where each scale is. Slow down your backing tracks, get a looper, and play. Be very, very conscious of where that C is. You want to hear where that C is. Okay, the other way that you can solo is stick with a G major blues box, which has the B flat in it, which in this case is the major and minor third mix of G, but it feels just like a Form 1 E minor blues box that I've done on my videos. And you can stick with that approach and hit any note you want in that box. But again, when the C comes, slip into that BB box sound, because that's the sound of the solo. The G minor BB box on top of that C chord is what makes Ed King's solo in Sweet Home Alabama absolutely brilliant. I hope you enjoyed this video. I could still analyze and talk about this forever, but if you have questions, and I want you to have questions, remember, ask them in the comments, and I will address them on my live feed coming up this very Thursday at 7:30 p.m. live Eastern Standard on YouTube. So subscribe with the bell icon. You'll get notified of when I go live. All right. Have a great day. Rock and roll, guys. Bye.